When you think about billionaires, you probably imagine technology companies, stock markets, luxury cars, or private jets. But behind many of When you think about billionaires, you probably imagine technology companies, stock markets, luxury cars, or private jets. But behind many of the world's biggest fortunes is an asset that's far less glamorous, yet incredibly powerful. Real estate. While the average person sees buildings as places to live or work, billionaires often see something completely different. They see cash flow, appreciation, tax advantages, and control. And the most interesting part? Some of the world's wealthiest people don't simply own a few expensive homes. They control entire portfolios of offices, hotels, shopping centers, apartment buildings, warehouses, and land, often through complex companies and private investment structures. So how does this secret real estate empire actually work? Let's find out. Part 1. The billion-dollar property machine. Imagine buying a building for $100 million. Over time, the surrounding area develops. More businesses move in, rents increase, demand rises. Suddenly, that same property could be worth significantly more. But here's where billionaire investors think differently. They don't necessarily want to sell. Instead, they can keep the property, collect rental income, and potentially use the increased value of the asset to access additional capital. This creates a powerful cycle. Buy, improve, collect income. Increase value, reinvest. And when this strategy is repeated across hundreds of properties, the numbers can become enormous. Part 2. They don't always own the buildings directly. Here's the part most people never see. A billionaire may not personally own every building under their own name. Instead, properties can be held through private companies, partnerships, investment funds, or real estate trusts. This structure can make it easier to manage large portfolios, bring in investors, separate different assets, and organize complex financial operations. For example, one company might own an office tower. Another could control a group of apartment buildings. A separate entity might own warehouses or hotels. To the public, these may appear to be completely different businesses. But behind the scenes, they can be connected through the same investment network. That's why billionaire real estate wealth can be difficult to understand from the outside. The empire isn't always visible. Part 3. Location is everything. But owning real estate isn't enough. The real secret is often location. Billionaires and institutional investors carefully watch where people are moving, where businesses are expanding, and where infrastructure is being built. A property near a growing technology hub could become dramatically more valuable. A warehouse near a major transportation network could benefit from the rise of e-commerce. And land in an area expected to experience population growth can become incredibly valuable over time. In other words, some of the biggest fortunes aren't made by predicting tomorrow's prices. They're made by predicting where tomorrow's demand will be. Part 4. The power of leverage. One of the most important tools in real estate is leverage. Instead of using only their own money, investors can use financing to acquire larger assets. Let's say an investor has $20 million available. Instead of buying $20 million worth of property, financing could potentially allow them to control assets worth far more, depending on the deal, the lender, and market conditions. If the properties generate enough income and increase in value, the investor's equity can grow significantly. But leverage is also a double-edged sword. When property values fall or interest costs rise, debt can turn from a powerful tool into a serious risk. That's why billionaire real estate empires are built around careful risk management, not just aggressive buying. The real secret. So what's the real secret behind billionaire real estate wealth? It's not simply owning expensive buildings. It's understanding how money, property, debt, location, and time work together. The wealthiest investors often think in decades, not months. They don't just ask, how much is this building worth today? They ask, what could this location be worth 10, 20, or 30 years from now? And that's the difference between owning real estate and building a real estate empire. Because while the world is watching billionaires buy luxury homes and private jets, some of the biggest fortunes are quietly being built behind the scenes, one property at a time. And that's where the real money may be hiding. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the secret world of billionaire wealth, make sure to subscribe for more stories about money, business, luxury, and the financial strategies of the world's richest people.